This is Homer's Iliad, translated into English by Robert Fitzgerald. Book 18. While they were still in combat, fighting seaward, raggedly as fire, Antilochus ran far ahead with tidings for Archelaus. In shelter of the curled high prows he found him, envisioning what had come to pass, in gloom and anger saying to himself, "Ay, why are they turning tail once more? Unmanned, outfought, and driven from the field, back on the beach and ships. I pray the gods this may not be the last twist of the knife. My mother warned me once that, while I lived, the most admirable of Myrmidons would quit the sunlight under Trojan blows. It could indeed be so. He has gone down, my dear and wayward friend. Push their deadly fire away, I told him, then return. You must not fight with Hector." And while he called it all to mind, the son of gallant Nestor came up weeping to give his cruel news. "Here's desolation, son of Peleus, the worst for you. Would God it had not happened. Lord Patroclus fell, and they are fighting over his body, stripped of armor. Hector has your gear." A black storm cloud of pain shrouded Archelaus. On his bowed head he scattered dust and ash in handfuls, and befouled his beautiful face, letting black ash sift on his fragrant ketone. Then, in the dust, he stretched his giant's length and tore his hair with both hands. From the hut the women who had been spoils of war to him and to Patroclus flocked in haste around him, crying loud in grief. All beat their breasts, and trembling came upon their knees. Antilochus wept where he stood, bending to hold the hero's hands, when groaning shook his heart. He feared the man might use sharp iron to slash his throat. And now Archelaus gave a dreadful cry. Her ladyship, his mother, heard him, in the depths offshore, lolling near her ancient father. Nymphs were gathered round her, all Nereids who haunted the green chambers of the sea. Glauce, Thalea, and Cimodoce, Nessae, Speo, Toe, Halie, with her wide eyes, Cimotoe, Actae, Limnorea, Melite, and Iria, Amphitoe, Augaue, Doto, Proto, Perusa, Dinamene, Dexamene, Amphinome, Callianera, Doris, Panope, and storied Galatea, Nemertes and Asperdes, Callianassa, Clymene, Janera, Janassa, Myra, Orethia, Amathia, and other Nereides of the deep sea, filling her glimmering silvery cave. All these now beat their breasts, as Thetis cried in sorrow, "Sisters, daughters of Nereus, hear and know how sore my heart is. Now my life is pain, for my great son's dark destiny. I bore a child flawless and strong beyond all men. He flourished like a green shoot, and I brought him to manhood like a blossoming orchard tree, only to send him in the ships to Ilion to war with Trojans. Now I shall never see him entering Peleus' hall, his home, again. But even while he lives, beholding sunlight, suffering is his lot. I have no power to help him, though I go to him. Even so, I visit my dear child and learn what sorrow came to him while he held aloof from war. On this she left the cave, and all in tears her company swam aloft with her. Around them a billow broke and foamed on the open sea. As they made land at the fertile plain of Troy, they went up one by one in line to where, in close order, Myrmidon ships were beached, to right and left of Achelous. Bending near her groaning son, the gentle goddess wailed, and took his head between her hands in pity, saying softly, "Child, why are you weeping? What great sorrow came to you? Speak out, do not conceal it." "Zeus did all you asked. Achaean troops, for want of you, were all forced back again upon the ship's sterns, taking heavy losses none of them could wish." The great runner groaned and answered, "Mother, yes, the master by Olympus brought it all about. But how have I benefited? My greatest friend is gone. Patroclus, comrade in arms, whom I held dear above all others, dear as myself, now gone, lost. Hector cut him down, despoiled him of my own arms, massive and fine, a wonder in all men's eyes. The gods gave them to Peleus that day they put you in a mortal's bed. How I wish the immortals of the sea had been your only consorts! How I wish Peleus had taken a mortal queen! Sorrow immeasurable is in store for you as well when your own child is lost. Never again on his homecoming day will you embrace him. I must reject this life, my heart tells me, reject the world of men. If Hector does not feel my battering spear, tear the life out of him, making him pay in his own blood for the slaughter of Patroclus." Letting a tear fall, Thetis said, "You'll be swift to meet your end, child, as you say. Your doom comes close on the heels of Hector's own." Achelous, the great runner, ground his teeth and said, "May it come quickly. As things were, I could not help my friend in his extremity. Far from his home he died. He needed me to shield him or to parry the death stroke. For me, there's no return to my own country. Not the slightest gleam of hope did I afford Patroclus or the other men whom Hector overpowered. Here I sat, my weight a useless burden to the earth, and I am one who has no peer in war among Achaean captains, though in council there are wiser. I let strife and rancor perish from the lives of gods and men, with anger that envenoms even the wise, and is sweeter than slow dripping honey, clouding the hearts of men like smoke. Just so, the marshal of the army, Agamemnon, moves me to anger. But we'll let that go, though I am still sore at heart. It is all past, and I have quelled my passion as I must. Now I must go to look for the destroyer of my great friend. I shall confront the dark, drear spirit of death at any hour Zeus and the other gods may wish to make an end. Not even Heracles escaped that terror, though cherished by Lord Zeus. Destiny and Hera's bitter anger mastered him. Likewise with me. If destiny like his awaits me, I shall rest when I have fallen. Now, though, may I win my perfect glory, and make some wife of Troy break down, or some deep-breasted Dardan woman sob, and wipe tears from her soft cheeks. They'll know then how long they had been spared the deaths of men, while I abstained from war. Do not attempt to keep me from the fight, though you love me. You cannot make me listen." Thetis, goddess of silvery feet, answered, Yes, of course, child, very true. You do no wrong to fight for tired soldiers and keep them from defeat, but still, your gear, all shining bronze, remains in Trojan hands. Hector himself is armed with it in pride. Not that he'll glory in it long, I know, for violent death is near him. Patience, then. Better not plunge into the moil of Ares until you see me here once more. At dawn, at sunrise, I shall come with splendid arms for you from Lord Hephaestus. She rose at this, and, turning from her son, told her sister Nereides, Go down into the cool, broady body of the sea to the sea's ancient. Visit Father's hall, and make all known to him. Meanwhile, I'll visit Olympus's great height and the lord of crafts, Hephaestus, hoping he will give me new and shining armor for my son. At this they vanished in the offshore swell, and to Olympus Thetis the silvery-footed went once more to fetch for her dear son new forged and finer arms. Meanwhile Achaeans, wildly crying, pressed by deadly Hector, reached the ships, beached above Helle's waters. None had been able to pull Patroclus clear of spear and sword play. Troops and chariots, and Hector, son of Priam, strong as fire, once more gained upon the body. Hector 3 times had the feet within his grasp, and strove to wrest Patroclus backward, shouting to all the Trojans. But 3 times the pair named Aias in their valor shook him off. Still he pushed on, sure of his own power, sometimes lunging through the battle din, or holding fast with a great shout. Not one step would he give way. As from a fresh carcass herdsmen in the wilds cannot dislodge a tawny lion famished, so those 2 with fearsome crests could not affright the son of Priam, or repel him from the body. He might have won it, might have won unending glory. But Eris, running on the wind, came from Olympus the son of Peleus, bidding him gird for battle. All unknown to Zeus and the other gods she came, for Hera sent her down. At his side she said, Up with you, Pelides, who strike cold fear into men's blood. Protect your friend Patroclus, for whom, beyond the ships, desperate combat rages now. They are killing one another on both sides, the Achaeans to defend him, Trojans fighting for that prize, to drag to windy Ilion, and Hector burns to take it more than anyone, to sever and impale Patroclus's head on Trojan battlements. Lie here no longer. It would be shameful if wild dogs of Troy made him their plaything. If that body suffers mutilation, you will be infamous. Prince Archelaus answered, Eurus of heaven, what immortal sent you to tell me this? And she who runs upon the wind replied, Hera, illustrious wife of Zeus, but he on his high throne knows nothing of it, neither does any one of the gods undying who haunt Olympus of eternal snows. Archelaus answered, Now how shall I go into the fighting? Those men, they have my gear. My mother allows me no rearming until I see her again here. She promises fine arms from Lord Hephaestus. I don't know whose armor I can wear until I take Aias's big shield. But I feel sure he's in the thick of it, contending with his spear over Patroclus. Then she who runs upon the wind replied, We know they have your arms, and know it well. Just as you are then, stand at the moat. Let the Trojans take that in. They will be so dismayed they may break off the battle, and Achaeans in their fatigue may win a breathing spell, however brief, a respite from the war. At this, Eris left him, running down wind. Archelaus, whom Zeus loved, now rose. Around his shoulders Athena hung her shield, like a thunderhead with trailing fringe. Goddess of goddesses, she bound his head with golden cloud and made his very body blaze with fiery light. Imagine how the pyre of a burning town will tower to heaven and be seen for miles from the island under attack, while all day long outside their town in brutal combat, pikemen suffer the war god's winnowing. At sundown, flare on flare is lit, the signal fires shoot up for other islanders to see that some relieving force and ships may come. Just so the baleful radiance from Archelaus lit the sky, moving from parapet to moat, without a nod for the Achaeans, keeping clear, in deference to his mother, he halted and gave tongue. Not far from him, Athena shrieked. The great sound shocked the Trojans into tumult, as a trumpet blown by a savage foe shocks an encircled town. So harsh and clarion was Archelaus's cry. The hearts of men quailed, hearing that brazen voice. Teams, foreknowing danger, turned their cars, and charioteers blanched, seeing unearthly fire kindled by the gray-eyed goddess Athena, brilliant over Archelaus. 3 great cries he gave above the moat. 3 times they shuddered, whirling backward, Trojans and allies, and 12 good men took mortal hurt from cars and weapons in the rank behind. Now the Achaeans leapt at the chance to bear Patroclus's body out of range. They placed it on his bed, and old companions there with brimming eyes surrounded him. Into their midst Archelaus came then, and he wept hot tears to see his faithful friend torn by the sharp spearhead, lying cold upon his cot. Alas, the man he sent to war with team and chariot, he could not welcome back alive. Her Majesty, wide-eyed Hera, made the reluctant sun, unwearied still, sink in the streams of ocean. Down he dropped, and the Achaean soldiers broke off combat, resting from the war. The Trojans, too, retired, unharnessing teams from war cars. Before making supper, they came together on the assembly ground, every man on his feet. Not one could sit, each being still in a tremor, for Archelaus, absent so long, had once again appeared. Clear-headed Polydamas, son of Panthous, spoke up first, as he alone could see what lay ahead and all that lay behind. He and Hector were companions in arms, born, as it happened, on the same night. But one excelled in handling weapons, one with words. Now, for the good of all, he spoke among them. Think well of our alternatives, friends. What I say is, retire upon the town instead of camping on the field till dawn, here by the ships. We are a long way from our stone wall. As long as that man raged at royal Agamemnon, we could fight the Achaeans with advantage. I was happy to spend last night so near the beach, and think of capturing ships today. Now, though, I fear the son of Peleus to my very marrow. There are no bounds to the passion of that man. He will not be contained by the flat ground where Trojans and Achaeans share between them raging war. He will strive on to fight, to win our town, our women, back to Troy. Believe me, this is what we face. Now Starry Night has made Archelaus pause. But when day comes, when he sorties in arms, to find us lingering here, there will be men who learn too well what he is made of. I dare say, Those who get away will reach walled Ilion thankfully, but dogs and kites of Troy will feed on many. May that story never reach my ears. If we can follow my battle plan, though galled by it, tonight we'll husband strength at rest in the marketplace. Towers, high gates, great doors of fitted planking, bolted tight, will keep the town secure. Early tomorrow we shall arm ourselves and man the walls. Worse luck then for Archelaus, if he comes looking for a head-on fight on the field around the wall. He can do nothing but trot back, after all, to the encampment, his proud team in a lather from their run, from scouring every quarter below the town. Rage as he will, he cannot force an entrance, cannot take all Troy by storm. Wild dogs will eat him first. Under his shimmering helmet, Hector glared at the speaker. Then he said, Polydamas, what you propose no longer serves my turn. To go on the defensive inside the town again? Is anyone not sick of being huddled in those towers? In past days, men told tales of Priam's city, rich in gold and rich in bronze. But now, those beautiful treasures of our home are lost. Many have gone for sale to Phrygia and fair Maeonia, since Lord Zeus grew hostile toward us. Now when the son of Cronos, crooked wit, has given me a chance of winning glory, pinning the Achaeans back on the sea, now is no time to publish notions like these to troops, you fool! No Trojan goes along with it. I will not have it. Come, let every man act as I propose. Take your evening meal by companies. Remember sentries, keep good watch, and any Trojan, tired of his wealth, who wants to lose everything, let him turn it over to the army stores to be consumed in common. Better our men enjoy it than Achaeans. At first light we shall buckle armor on and bring the ships under attack. Suppose the man who stood astern there was indeed Archelaus. Then worse luck for him, if he will have it so. Shall I retreat from him, from clash of combat? No, I will not. Here I'll stand, though he should win. I might just win myself, the battle gods impartial, dealing death to the death-dealing man. This was Hector's speech. The Trojans roared approval of it. Fools, for Pallas Athena took away their wits. They all applauded Hector's poor tactics, but Polydamas, with his good judgment, got not one assent. They took their evening meal now, through the army, while all night long Achaeans mourned Patroclus. Archelaus led them in their lamentation, laying those hands deadly to enemies upon the breast of his old friend, with groans at every breath bereft as a lioness, whose whelps a hunter seized out of a thicket. Late in returning she will grieve, and roam through many meandering valleys on his track in hope of finding him. Heart-stinging anger carries her away. Now, with a groan, he cried out to the Myrmidons, God, what empty prophecy I made that day to cheer Menoetius in his Megaron. I promised him his honored son, brought back to Opoeis as pillager of Ilion, bearing his share of spoils. But Zeus will not fulfill what men design. Not all of it. Both he and I were destined to stain the same earth dark red here at Troy. No going home for me, no welcome there from Peleus, master of horse, or from my mother Thetis. Here the earth will hold me under. Therefore, as I must follow you into the grave, I will not give you burial, Patroclus, until I carry back the gear and head of him who killed you, noble friend. Before your funeral pyre, I'll cut the throats of 12 resplendent children of the Trojans. That is my murdering fury at your death. But while you lie here by the swan-like ships, night and day close by, deep-breasted women of Troy and darted women must lament and weep hot tears, all those whom we acquired by labor and assault, by the long spear, pillaging the fat market towns of men. With this, Archelaus called the company to place over the campfire a big tripod, and bathe Patroclus of his clotted blood. Setting tripod and cauldron on the blaze, they poured it full, and fed the fire beneath, and flames licked round the belly of the vessel, until the water warmed and bubbled up in the bright bronze. They bathed him then, and took sweet oil for his anointing, laying nard in the open wounds. And on his bed they placed him, covering him with fine linen head to foot, and a white shroud over it. So all that night, beside Archelaus, the great runner, the Myrmidons held mourning for Patroclus. Now Zeus observed to Hera, wife and sister, "You had your way, my lady, after all, my wide-eyed one. You brought him to his feet, the great runner. One would say the Achaean gentlemen were progeny of yours." And Hera, with wide eyes, replied, "Dread Majesty, Lord Zeus, why do you take this tone? May not an ordinary mortal have his way, though death awaits him, and his mind is dim? Would anyone suppose that I, who rank in 2 respects highest of goddesses, by birth and by my station, queen to thee, lord of all gods, that I should not devise ill fortune for the Trojans, whom I loathe?" So ran their brief exchange. Meanwhile, the silvery-footed Thetis reached Hephaestus's lodging, indestructible and starry, framed in bronze by the bandy-legged god. She found him sweating, as from side to side he plied his bellows. On his forge were 20 tripods to be finished, then to stand around his Megaron, and he wrought wheels of gold for the base of each, that each might roll, as of itself, into the gods' assembly, then roll home, a marvel to the eyes. The cauldrons were all shaped, but had no handles. These he applied now, hammering rivets in, and as he toiled sure-handedly at this, Thetis arrived. Grace, in her shining veil, just going out, encountered her. That Grace, the bow-legged god, had taken to wife. She greeted Thetis with a warm hand-clasp and said, "My lady Thetis, gracious goddess, what has brought you here? You almost never honor us. Please come in. Let me give you welcome." Loveliest of goddesses, she led the way, to seat her guest on a silver-studded chair, elaborately fashioned with a footrest. Then she called to Hephaestus, "Come and see! Thetis is here, in need of something from you." To this, the great game-legs replied, "Ah, and we have a visitor I honor. She was my savior after the long fall and fractures that I had to bear when mother, bitch that she is, wanted to hide her cripple. That would have been a dangerous time, had not Thetis and Eurynome taken me in. Eurynome, daughter of the tidal ocean. 9 years I stayed and fashioned works of art, brooches and spiral bracelets, necklaces in their smooth cave, round which the stream of ocean flows with a foaming roar. And no one else knew of it, gods or mortals. Only Thetis knew, and Eurynome, the two who saved me. Well, now she has come to us. Well, what do I owe her for life to her ladyship in her soft braids? I must repay. Serve for her our choicest fare, while I put up my bellows and my tools. At this he left the anvil block, and hobbled with monstrous bulk on skinny legs to take his bellows from the fire. Then all the tools he had been toiling with he stowed in a silver chest. That done, he sponged himself, his face, both arms, bull neck, and hairy chest, put on a tunic, took a weighty staff, and limped out of his workshop. Round their lord came fluttering maids of gold, like living girls. Intelligences, voices, powers of motion these maids have, and skills learnt from immortals. Now they came rustling to support their lord, and he moved on toward Thetis, where she sat upon the silvery chair. He took her hand, and warmly said, "My lady Thetis, gracious goddess, why have you come? You must never honor us. Tell me the favor that you have in mind, for I desire to do it if I can, and it is a thing that one may do." Thetis answered, tear on cheek, "Hephaestus, who among all Olympian goddesses endured anxiety and pain like mine, Zeus chose me from all of them for this. Of sea nymphs I alone was given in thrall to a mortal warrior, Peleus Iacides. And I endured a mortal warrior's bed many a time without desire. Now Peleus lies far gone in age in his great hall, and I have other pain. Our son, bestowed on me and nursed by me, became a hero unsurpassed. He grew like a green shoot. I cherished him like a flowering orchard tree, only to send him in the ships to Iliad to war with Trojans. And now I shall never see him entering Peleus' hall, his home again. But even while he lives, beholding sunlight, suffering is his lot. I have no power to help him, though I go to him. A girl, his prize from the Achaeans, Agamemnon, took out of his hands to make his own, and he pined with burning heart. The Trojans rolled the Achaeans back on the ship's sterns and left them no escape. And then Argive officers begged my son's help, offering every gift. But he would not defend them from disaster. Arming Patroclus in his own war gear, he sent him with his people into battle. All day long around the Scaean gates they fought, and would have won the city too, had not Apollo, seeing the brave son of Anointius wreaking havoc on the Trojans, killed him in action and then given Hector the honor of that deed. On this account, I am here to beg you, if you will provide for my doomed son a shield and crested helm, good legging greaves, fitted with ankle clasps, a cuirass too. His own armor was lost when his great friend went down before the Trojans. Now my son lies prone on the hard ground in grief." The illustrious slain god replied, "Take heart, no trouble about the arms. I only wish that I could hide him from the power of death in his black hour. Wish I were sure of that as of the splendid gear he'll get, a wonder to any one of the many men there are." He left her there, returning to his bellows, training them on the fire, crying, "To work! In crucibles the 20 bellows breathed every degree of fiery air, to serve him a great blast when he labored might in main, or a faint puff, according to his wish, and what the work demanded. Durable, fine bronze and tin he threw into the blaze, with silver and with honorable gold, then mounted a big anvil in his block, and in his right hand took a powerful hammer, managing with his tongs in his left hand. His first job was a shield, a broad one, thick, well fashioned everywhere. A shining rim he gave it triple ply, and hung from this a silver shoulder strap. 5 welded layers composed the body of the shield. The maker used all his art adorning this expanse. He pictured on it earth, heaven, and sea, unwearied sun, moon, waxing, all the stars that heaven bears for garland. Pleiades, Hyades, Orion in his might, the great bear too, that some have called the Wan, pivoting there, attentive to Orion, and unbathed ever in the ocean stream. He pictured then 2 cities, noble scenes, weddings in one, and wedding feasts, and brides led out through town by torchlight from their chambers, amid chorales, amid the young men turning round and round in dances, flutes and harps among them, keeping up a tune, and women coming outdoors to stare as they went by. A crowd then in a marketplace, and there 2 men at odds over satisfaction owed for a murder done. One claimed that all was paid, and publicly declared it. His opponent turned the reparation down, and both demanded a verdict from an arbiter, as people clamored in support of each, and criers restrained the crowd. The town elders sat in a ring on chairs of polished stone, the staves of clarion criers in their hands, with which they sprang up, each to speak in turn, and in the middle were 2 golden measures to be awarded him whose argument would be the most straightforward. War time then. Around the other city were emplaced 2 columns of besiegers, bright in arms, as yet divided on which plan they liked, whether to sack the town or treat for half of all the treasure stored in the citadel. The townsmen would not bow either. Secretly they armed to break the siege line. Women and children stationed on the walls kept watch, with men whom age disabled. All the rest filed out, as Ares led the way, and Pallas Athena, figured in gold with golden trappings, both magnificent in arms, as the gods are, in high relief, while men were small beside them. When these had come to a likely place for ambush, a river with a watering place for flocks, they disposed themselves, compact in bronze. 2 lookouts at a distance from the troops took their posts, awaiting sight of sheep and shambling cattle. Both now came into view, trailed by 2 herdsmen playing pipes, no hidden danger in their minds. The ambush party took them by surprise in a sudden rush. Swiftly they cut off herds and beautiful flocks of silvery gray sheep, then killed the herdsmen. When the besiegers from their parleying ground heard sounds of cattle in stampede, they mounted behind mettlesome teams, following the sound, and came up quickly. Battle lines were drawn, and on the river banks the fight began, as each side rifled javelins at the other. Here then strife and uproar joined the fray, and ghastly fate that kept a man with wounds alive, and one unwounded, and another dragged by his heels through battle din in death. This figure wore a mantle dyed with blood, and all the figures clashed and fought like living men, and pulled their dead away. Upon the shield, soft terrain, freshly plowed, he pictured a broad field, and many ploughmen here and there upon it. Some were turning ox teams at the ploughland's edge, and there, as one arrived and turned, a man came forward, putting a cup of sweet wine in his hands. They made their turnarounds, then up the furrows drove again, eager to reach the deep field's limit. And the earth looked black behind them, as though turned up by the plows. But it was gold, all gold, a wonder of the artist's craft. He put there, too, a king's field. Harvest hands were swinging whetted scythes to mow the grain, and stalks were falling along the swath, while binders girded others up in sheaves with bands of straw. 3 binders, and behind them children came as gleaners, proffering their eager armfuls. And amid them all the king stood quietly with staff in hand, happy at heart upon a new mown swath. To one side, under an oak tree, his attendants worked at a harvest banquet. They had killed a great ox, and were dressing it. Their wives made supper for the hands, with barley strown. A vineyard then he pictured, weighted down with grapes. This all in gold, and yet the clusters hung dark purple, while the spreading vines were propped on silver vine poles. Blue enamel he made the enclosing ditch, and tin the fence, and one path only led into the vineyard, on which the loaded vintagers took their way at vintage time. Light-hearted boys and girls were harvesting the grapes in woven baskets, while on a resonant harp a boy among them played a tune of longing, singing low, with delicate voice, a summer dirge. The others, breaking out in song for the joy of it, kept time together as they skipped along. The artisan made next a herd of longhorns, fashioned in gold and tin. Away they shambled, lowing, from byre to pasture by a stream that sang in ripples and by reeds asway. 4 cowherds, all of gold, were plodding after, with 9 lithe dogs beside them. On the assault, in 2 tremendous bounds, a pair of lions caught in the van a bellowing bull, and off they dragged him, followed by the dogs and men. Rending the belly of the bull, the 2 gulped down his blood and guts, even as the herdsmen tried to set on their hunting dogs, but failed. No trading bites with lions for those dogs, who halted close up, barking, then ran back. And on the shield the great bow-legged god designed a pasture in a lovely valley, wide, with silvery sheep, and huts and sheds and sheepfolds there. A dancing floor as well he fashioned, like that one in royal Knossos Daedalus made for the Princess Ariadne. Here young men and the most desired young girls were dancing, linked, touching each other's wrists, the girls in linen in soft gowns, the men in well-knit chitones, giving a gloss with oil. The girls wore garlands, and the men had daggers, golden hilted, hung on silver lanyards. Trained and adept, they circled there with ease, the way a potter sitting at his wheel will give it a practised twirl between his palms to see it run. Or else, again, in lines, as though in ranks, they moved on one another. Magical dancing. All around a crowd stood spellbound as 2 tumblers led the beat, with spins and handsprings through the company. Then, running round the shield rim, triple ply, he pictured all the might of the ocean stream. Besides the densely plated shield he made a cuirass, brighter far than firelight, a massive helmet measured for his temples, handsomely figured with a crest of gold, then greaves of pliant tin. Now when the crippled god had done his work, he picked up all the arms and laid them down before Archelaus's mother, And swift as a hawk from snowy Olympus' height, she bore the brilliant gear made by Hephaestus.